Let's do it.
What topics do we want to get into today?
I want to talk about obviously business.
Okay.
Goals. Yeah, like we ended up meeting with a mutual friend.
Yeah.
Similar goals, life goals,
Okay.
business goals, hardship of business.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like that could take up the whole time.
Yeah.
And golf.
So Kate, how long have you been in business?
I've been in business with DK 14 years.
14 years.
14. Yep. And then before that, I was with Ashco for probably close to six years as a superintendent.
So construction has been your entire career.
It has been my entire career. I did help out at the airport for a minute.
Did you?
Yeah. Yep. Like pushing wheelchairs and stuff like that. Dude.
I mean, you can't be a professional golfer with this.
I'm still out.
You're still out.
I'm going to putt this with a 4-iron.
Little low flying shot.
Yeah, something.
All right, I like it.
Let's just see.
Good strategy.
That went right into the. That went right into the trunk. All right, try it again.
All right, here we go.
Well, I'm past the tree.
All right, we got through.
Oh. I have hit a bucket of balls by this time. Alan, how did you get in business?
It's interesting. My dad's an attorney. My brother's an attorney. I struggled in school just because I'm super ADD, and so I always felt like I just wasn't going to find success, and I had to figure out what I wanted to do. I actually went to work for a landscaper when I was in high school, and we would do landscaping in the summer and then build like block buildings in the wintertime. And I didn't love landscaping. It was okay, but like honestly, it's hard work. It's really hard work. But I loved the construction aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so, I served an LDS mission in Hawaii, and then came home, and everyone's thought is that you have to go to college, right? And I dreaded it, honestly, but I still signed up anyway. And I went back to college, and dude, walked into the classroom, and I was like, this feels just like high school. And I saw this future of me like hating everything I was doing there. And so I bounced after 2 weeks, and I never went back. And I was like, well, we've got to figure something out. So I went back to work for that same landscaper, and just kept building in the winter, and then went to a commercial contractor and worked for them for a little bit, and got fired after about a year, and thought, well, got to start my own thing. I was young and cocky enough to not know how difficult business was.
How old were you?
22.
22?
Yeah.
I think that I honestly feel that most people, especially if they're young and they start in business, they have no idea what they're going to be getting in for.
Which sometimes I think is actually the best way to go about it. Because if I knew everything that I was going to deal with and how difficult it would be, like it would be a hard decision to make. But going in blind and then just having to figure it out as you go, that's probably been the best thing for me.
That optimism, being optimistic, is probably what helps start a ton of businesses.
Oh, absolutely.
Because exactly like what you said, if it was mapped out as to what you were going to go through over the next, 5, 6, 10, 14, whatever, however many years,
yeah,
you'd probably be like, no, I'll just stay here.
Totally.
I'll just collect a check and go from there.
I think it's easier to think like that, but there's also something inside of me like
Breaking tees off.
I've never been satisfied.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's another part of it too, is like I've always been looking for something more. And I don't know if it's always been there. So I don't know if I don't know where it came from.
How was your childhood?
I don't know if we want to get into that on this one.
Would that have, did you have a lot? Is it like growing up and stuff like that? Did you have a lot? Is that what set the drive?
No. As a matter of fact, my dad worked hard and he always provided. I like. Oh, come back.
That's in the pond, dude. They're not.
Like I feel like he did a good job taking care of us. But there were a lot of wants, and my dad always said that I had a wine taste on a beer budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that, but my childhood was difficult, and there was some family dynamics that were difficult for a long time. So I think I was trying to escape my home a lot when I was a child. Right? I don't even know what to add there.
It's interesting asking that question because I was like given everything. And so I think most people would think that if you grew up that way, then maybe you would be lazy or not push or expect from others or something like that.
Right.
Where had you not grown up with it, you're going to be most likely to grind.
Okay, so let me
make something of it.
Let me ask you this: were you given things or opportunities or both?
Both. I was given opportunities to do like play sports or do what I want,
Mm-hmm.
but I would get all the backing that I needed and more.
Yeah, I feel like I was given opportunity too, and I was given things as well. But it was like there wasn't ever support. Like I honestly can't remember a time that like my parents sat down with me to do homework. I started failing school in 5th grade because like I didn't know how to do homework, and so like I knew I had to get it done. So like I remember walking home from school, looking at the homework and knowing there was like, let's say there was like 25 problems I had to do, and I would just write on a sheet of paper 1 through 25, and then just write random numbers, because like it was math, right? I had no idea, so I just write random numbers so that my homework was done. So that if like my mom asked, "Hey, is your homework done?" I could be like, "Yeah, it's done," and show her a piece of paper with random numbers on it. So like there was like, "Hey, did you get your homework done?" But there was never any follow-up. Do you understand it? Do you know what you're doing? Right? Do you understand the concepts? Hey, let's look at it. Let's work through it. None of that. And it's been interesting because my wife has been amazing at that with our kids. And so like just to see the difference between like how my kids have been raised versus how I was raised, it's kind of mind-blowing. So I think that's probably what started the trend of like me thinking that I wasn't smart because I just did so poorly in school. And I was just, the reality is I wasn't taught any systems of how to deal with it.
I was a lot similar in that way.
Go. Oh, let's go.
Well, you're putting.
That's a shot right there.
I was a lot similar that way with school.
Yeah.
I don't recall my mom ever asking me, "Did you do your homework or not do your homework?" It would be grades coming to her and stuff like that. I'm sure she did, but
were they F's and D's? Or did you do okay?
You know what? It was pretty rough in the beginning. When I went to Westlake Junior High, and that was like some hood stuff. It's no longer there, so I can talk shit on it. It was like some hood stuff.
Like more hood than Thomas Jefferson Junior High out in West Valley?
Same.
which is where Jaron and I met.
Probably the same.
Yeah, we grew up out in.
Yeah, probably the same. So
Okay.
I think I was like a 1.7 or something when I was going there. Sloughing.
Nice.
Then I had to go to Kennedy Junior High. They shifted me at like 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I had to be in uniforms. And
Really?
it actually helped. From there, then it turned around to like 2 8s, 3 O's. Here's the deal though. The same thing. There's not enough time in the classroom to fully explain how to do the problem.
No.
And you're going to lose that. You're going to forget about it within an hour of leaving that class, heading to your next class.
Right.
So then I had all the intentions of doing it, but when I would get home, I would be like drawing a complete blank.
You're like, how the hell do you do this?
Yeah, so I'd go home, I'd go back to class, and I was always like the first one in class, and I'd always sit by pretty smart people. So I'd be like, slide my sheet over. The girl next to me would look at it. She'd slide hers over, and I'd fill out my paperwork.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of.
I mean, look, like school frowns upon that, but that's like brilliant in the entrepreneurial world.
Dude, that's going to be in the house.
Guys, it is tough to talk about other things while you're golfing. That is for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is
It
actually
really is.
tough.
It's super difficult.
So that's kind of how I got. That's kind of how I got through the homework stuff with school. Don't hit the fringe.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is, school teaches you to memorize just certain things, but for me, I never felt like I understood the why behind things. And if I understand the why behind something, I feel like it's easier for me to really learn it and understand it. And because my brain wants to get a solution, but it'll take a different path, right?
Yeah. Dude, my hat's off to your wife, because like, why do they give the kids homework at the level they're at?
I don't know, dude. It's a ton of homework too.
My ex-wife and I have the same battle every time. I'm like, don't send the kids if they got homework. I don't do it every day, so some of that I'm like, you don't even use that.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's a ton of that.
Who?
Oh, going left. Come here. There we go. Oh, that's a beauty. That's a beauty.
It's a beaut, Clark.
We like it. Yeah, so anyway, not doing well in school kind of led me to that path of like, I have to figure out what I want to do. And it's, the other interesting thing that I know about myself is like, oh shit, I'm not a very good employee.
Okay, explain that.
Well, I'm super ADD. So like I want to do, like I want to get things done, and I'm really good at starting something, and I'm really good at actually like going down, diving pretty deep into things. But I always need help to finish things up. So it's like, as an employee, I feel like someone wants to give you a certain task and have you complete the task on your own, right? And for me, like I always felt like I needed a team to get things done. So like I can dig in and I can understand things really well, and I can explain things really well, and
Yeah.
I can say what I want, and I know what I want, and I know how to get there, but I need a lot of help from other people to actually get it done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's why I've always just done my own thing.
What in the world?
So your dad had a construction company, right?
Yeah, so he was with what do we got here? 80.
282 yards, par 5.
Yeah, he did. He had a construction company. He still does. Same company.
Ashco.
Yep. Oh, thin.
And did your dad have any help starting his construction company, or was that something that he just thought he wanted to do by himself?
That was it. He was with a pretty well-known guy, Hal Hudson with Advanced Interiors. He was one of his main guys, or the main guy, for, I think, I don't know the timeline that he was with him. It was for a while. And then I was in elementary when my dad decided to go out on his own. I remember him taking the tests in the living room, like studying. So he's at least 20 some years with Alco Construction. The semi-retired right now.
And how did his company do right away? Do you remember? Like,
I remember he did really well.
Like just out of the gate.
I remember he did pretty good. I would say within 5 years or so, I feel like he was, my dad's gonna hear this and be like, what in the hell? But he's like, you got it all wrong. I would say like within 5 years of what I remember, he was in several states.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So he was in, again, I apologize, Pops, if I can't remember exactly, but Nevada, Arizona. He ended up doing stuff in Wyoming. But yeah, he was mostly in Nevada and Arizona did AutoZones or Checker Autos.
Oh, okay.
And stuff like that. So ended up getting with, he ended up doing a ton of Arby's for both corporate and the franchisees around here. So that we did a ton of those.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know, like, if you ever saw your dad deal with business struggles.
Yes, but at the time, being young, I didn't actually know they were struggles.
So is it just now that you've gotten older and reflected back that
I can see what had gone down.
Really?
But yeah, so there was a time, I remember him getting rid of his truck and getting a newer truck. New as in it was a different color, stuff like that.
Okay.
But what I didn't realize was it was a downgrade.
Yeah.
For reasons.
Yeah.
So he had a secretary end up embezzling a ton of money from him.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. He didn't claim bankruptcy. He just paid everybody back. It took him a little bit, but that kind of reeled him in from being state to state to state. That kind of reeled him in and brought him back to downsizing, shrinking to my cousin and I.
Oh, really?
Yep. And then
so just the three of you?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that had to be a pretty difficult transition for him.
Yeah, I bet it was. And I didn't even see it. He didn't even show it.
You know, because it's interesting because like I feel like both of our companies have grown a lot and are doing well, but in the back of my mind, there's always that fear of like, because I've lost everything before and had to start over, and it is not fun. And I feel like I learned amazing lessons there, but it's still a little bit in the back of my mind. You know what I mean? Of like, what if this goes south again?
Like it could happen at any time.
Yeah. And then asking how would you deal with it?
Yeah, and nothing's promised. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
But it is kind of funny because as I get older and there are times that I used to think, good Dad, you're crazy. And then now as I get older and I go through the lessons, I'm like, it all makes sense.
What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in business?
Ooh, the hot spot.
Be enough. Oh, that was close.
I'd say one of the biggest things that I learned in business would probably be is if it has to do with everything that you do, it can't be vague. Everything you do has to be, you have to explain and detail. The biggest thing is make sure that everything you do is detailed out. I used to think that if I say just metal stud framing as per plan.
Right.
that I could get them on a point, but in the end, you're leaving yourself wide open
Right.
to just get hammered on.
Yeah, totally true.
So I think the biggest lesson was making sure that what you bid and what you put in that job, you detail it out.
So creating really clear expectations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it makes it makes it super easy because you either did have it or you didn't have it. It's not me just saying as per plan, and then as stuff changes, you just get hammered.
All right, so I'm going to put you on point a little bit. I'm going to push here because that it's one thing to create really clear expectations on paper. It's another thing to create really clear expectations in conversation. Have you learned that ability?
When talking with people?
Yeah.
Give me an example.
Well, an example would be, like I said, on paper, you can detail everything that you're using, right?
Yes.
But an example of like dealing with employees would be like, hey, like I expect the job site to be clean. Okay, well, what's their interpretation of clean? What's your interpretation of clean?
Could be totally different.
You know what I mean? Like, are they thinking that clean is like just not piles of shit everywhere, or like not a stick of wood, no dust in the, like what does it mean?
It could be.
And I think that's something that's been kind of difficult for me, is because I have high expectations, and I think sometimes I'm clearly explaining what I mean and setting a clear expectation, but when it's not met again and again and again, I have to ask myself, is the expectation not achievable, or am I not being really clear about what I expect? So they bring in this new project manager, and I put this estimate together, right? And I take it to him, and he starts telling me like how I've screwed everything up, like I've priced things too high, that he comes from the owner's side, so he knows what all the numbers should be, and that like the way I've done it is totally wrong, right?
Yeah.
So he goes in and he starts cutting this estimate, like slashing my prices everywhere, right? And I'm like, everything I've been taught from the other project managers, he's like cutting it in half. And I'm like, dude, like, you may know the owner side, but you know the contractor side. Like, we need some room here, right? And I was getting super frustrated. So he did all of that. And then he brought in the VP. And, the VP's going through it, and he's asking questions. And he doesn't, the project manager doesn't totally know the scope of work. I do, because I'm the one that's been digging in the plans, right? And so we're going line by line, and he's like, oh, okay, let's talk about this one. And I've just got this just shitty attitude and this ego. And I'm like, well, he cut that in half, and it should be more than that. And, we're not going to make money here, and we'll probably lose money there. And I've just got this freaking ego, right? Like, that guy has no idea what he's doing, and he's destroying this budget, and we shouldn't even be doing this, and we're not going to make any money. And about halfway through that estimate, the VP looks and he says, so you've been telling me this entire time we're not going to make money. And I'm like, I don't think we will. And he's like, why the fuck are we bidding this then? And he stands up and walks out of the room. 2 weeks later, I was fired.
I wonder whatever happened to the other guy.
I don't know. I was gone, man. I was out of there. I remember there was a kid that came to work for me, and when he first started, he was making $7 an hour, and when he left working for me, he was making $21 an hour. Like, to be able to take someone and give them upward mobility while I'm getting upward mobility, it's been one of the greatest things in my life. And that's actually kind of where my passion is now, because I think, I love construction, but I'm not out there doing construction day to day. I'm in the office, and I'm talking about building a business, and I'm looking at the business. And the greatest joy I get is actually when I show up on a job site and I see guys like Matt, with this big smile on his face, and he's out there working. And I love that with the jobs that my company is providing, he has a job, and he's paying a mortgage, and he's feeding his kids, and he's buying trucks, and he's going on vacation, and his family is taken care of. And the people who work for me are the same thing. They are taking care of their families, and they're paying bills, and they're having upward mobility while I'm having upward mobility.
I like it.
I love it.
It's a good feeling.
It's fantastic.
To see like everybody winning.
Yeah. And even when even when construction is super challenging. I think it's one of the most difficult businesses to be in. Our margins are super thin. We're always dealing with problems. There's a lot of egos in our industry, and even when things get difficult, like I love bringing people together and finding a solution. And even if it sucks, we're able to come together as a team and still get it done.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes. Like when you talk about people's character, that speaks volumes.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, it's not an easy sport.
No.
Going back to, just the fact that you have to bid everything, and then you can't miss stuff. You have to make sure that you've got it all. Material costs could change, labor costs could change. The environment can change what you're doing. There's you can win big, but you can lose big. It's not like going to a convenience store and knowing what that candy bar costs, knowing what your overhead is, how many do you need to sell a month.
Right.
It's not anything like that.
Yeah.
But you know your margins. Your margins are what your margins are, and unless you sell more, you're not going to make any more. But it's relatively safe, I feel like, versus construction. You could misbid stuff.
Yeah.
You have to pay for that candy bar before you walk out.
Well, and that's always been an interesting thing to me, right? Like and look, I get that everyone has overhead on the front end. Everyone has to pay out for their supplies, but it was always like the model of construction of like, hey, we'll build all of this stuff and then you pay us for it, versus McDonald's where they're like, okay, we made your sandwich, but you have to pay me before you get your sandwich.
Yeah.
Like there's so many times we are delivering the sandwich and hoping we get paid. And in residential, like I actually found that was a really difficult thing. I felt like, which is one of the reasons why I moved to commercial construction. I felt like all the time when I was doing residential construction, building homes for people, it was like we were delivering a product and inevitably it went over budget because they wanted more than they could afford, and they thought that they would be able to figure it out in the end, and the end came. And the way they always figured it out was by coming to me and saying, hey, can you give me a discount? Can you go talk to your subs and ask them for a discount? Because the product's already done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then there's the bill, and the bill is always more than they can afford.
That makes it so hard.
It's difficult because, the thing is, and there's a part of me too, like, I know there are business owners out there that would be like, well, tell them to pound sand, take their home, tell them, file a lawsuit or whatever. But for me, I think I was always a little too empathetic, because my thought was always like, man, what if I was in that same position? Like, can you imagine the stress that I would have? And then like I'd have employees and they'd be like, yeah, but you don't have a brand new home. Like you just built them a brand new home and you're still living in an older home. And I'm like, yeah, but that situation would still suck. So I think that's another reason why I probably struggled in residential a little, was just because I was too nice and I was too empathetic. And I needed to get people around me to kind of be a barrier to where I can't hurt myself. And that's actually been one of the greatest things about the team I have now. Nicole.
Yep.
And she, like, if it's not fair, she won't do it. If it's going to hurt us, she won't do it. She won't allow it. And like she's been the greatest thing for me, because she's the one who stands up and is that wall that I need. She's that protector that I need, right? Like I've got this vision and I know where I want to go and I know what I want to accomplish, and I know that I can build great teams, and I know that I can, go get build relationships and get big jobs. But I need someone who will protect me, and she's done that. She's amazing, and she lines out the whole company and takes care of that in every way.
That's like a lot of with me as well in some situations. I'm a sucker, so if they come to me, I most likely will say yes, or
yeah.
But if I stay back or stay away or say, hey, you got to go talk to, don't come to me.
Yeah.
Then it works out a lot better, because
well,
I don't know why it is, dude. I feel for the situation, and
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I think that's pretty common with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, right? Like, we're so driven to be customer service oriented that we don't want anyone to be angry with us or be upset with us or be disappointed in us. Get over it.
That was a good ball. Dude, I'm super grateful the way that I got taught. And like the 6 years that I was actually behind my cousin. That was, man, he taught me a ton as far as, I bet he stayed up all night mapping out what he was going to do the next day and how he was going to do it in every single step.
Really?
Yeah, I bet he mapped out where the parts were, like Home Depot. Dude, he was, but everything ran pretty smooth.
Well, yeah, if you've got that kind of organization, it's going to go really well.
It was like a 1-2 punch. He would mostly talk with the owners, be doing the work. You know, I would get him all the tools. He'd go talk to the owners to get ready. I'd have everything laid out and plugged in, ready for him to go, handing him everything. Then the minute we were finishing up and he was like maybe running the last little bead of caulk on something, he'd then get up with a rag and go talk to the owner, and I'd have everything wrapped back up, put in the truck, and it was like a done stamp.
That's awesome.
And it was like done. And that we loved it. Like that was, but then like I said, I've done so many doors and door hardware, panics stuff, door closers. I can't tell you how many toilets, how many sinks, floors.
So let me ask you this, because like I like the dynamic you talked about, like between you and your cousin and how you guys things set up and how you acted as the team. I've done a little bit of coaching and mentoring on my own to business owners, and people are just starting out, and not necessarily just in construction, like in some other businesses too. And what's been interesting to me is one of the biggest hurdles for a lot of people to get over in the beginning is hiring employees and developing a team. They want to do everything themselves.
There's got to be a point that you turn into the business owner and you put your bags down.
Right. Well, and even if you have to self-perform for a while, like having people help you. Did you, like right out of the gate, when you started, did you have employees right out of the gate, or was there ever a moment where you were trying to do everything on your own?
This is a funny story. So when I, with my old man and I, we just sat and butt heads. You know, it was a lot of, me working for him was really hard. A lot of butting heads. We did not have a good relationship. So we kind of just said, you know, shook hands and said, let's go separate ways, which was hard for me because my dad's company was a really good company. You know what I mean? Right. It was an easy go to just stay there and you know, work truck and constant paycheck and everything. So it was a little bit risky where I just was like, okay, I'm going to let this go and try my own thing. But I was confident enough that I felt like I could. And I started out doing somebody's bathroom, their basement, a kitchen.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And then one day, and this was just me, and then one day my old man was like, hey, because I never thought that I'd ever be doing drywall. Never in a million years. Never.
Right.
And one day my old man was like, hey, we've got a subcontractor that really needs help framing. Do you want to frame? And I'm like, well, I've never done metal stud framing. He's like, it'll be easy. Dude, we were at his house. I think it was like Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you want to do it? And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And he's like, do you want to start tomorrow? Because I think it was like Sunday. And I'm like, little hesitant. He's like, oh, I'm going to come with you. You and I are going to frame it. And I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
So it was in Ogden. It was a job in Ogden. And we went there, and my old man framed with me that we got cruising, and he helped me. We kind of figured out how much wall we could get done in a day so he could help me with pricing and stuff. And,
right.
You know, we're just bouncing stuff off each other. And yeah, he helped me frame my first job. And then from there, I found somebody. Then I found another guy. You know, then you lose a guy.
Yeah.
Then another couple guys. Then you're worried about trying to pay for your gas for your car. You know what I mean? You're like, I can't even get to a job site because I can't pay for my gas. Like, I got to get some money here.
Oh, shoot.
All the struggles.
Isn't that funny? One more time. Look, I didn't even pick it up. So
I know. That's why I was like, dude, it didn't even.
It doesn't even matter.
We'll putt it. God,
Sit. Stay on.
Shit.
Oh, one more time. One more time. Nice and easy. Come on, it's all in the rhythm, right?
It is. I just stay solid instead of fluent.
Little easy. Easy.
I cannot get that off a mat.
Shipping's hard.
I can't get it off a mat to save my life.
Oh, I got par there.
Yeah, dude, I remember the days, man. Worried about paying for gas.
Yeah, after I lost everything in 2008, when everything shut down, I had my truck repossessed because like I lost everything. And here's the thing that was crappy is like, so I had a couple things with the bank, right? And I was totally current on my truck payments, but I was behind on something else. And so I had no idea that the bank could come take your truck if you were current on that, but behind on another loan. Like I had no idea.
Another loan that was with them?
Another loan that was with them. And so, dude, one morning, there's like commotion out in the driveway. And my wife is like, what is going on outside? I'm like, I don't know. She opens up the window. She was like, someone is stealing your truck. Go out there, it's getting repossessed. Anyway, that kind of sucked. But the guy was cool enough because I actually had job supplies in my truck for a job that I was heading up to Idaho to do. Like I had it full of stuff in the truck. And I was like, dude, you can't take all of that too. So he was actually cool enough. He like waited and let me unload the entire truck, get everything out of there before he took it, right? But still, I was left without a truck and I had to figure out a solution quick. And I just didn't have any money. And dude, like I got on KSL, started looking, and I found a 1993 F350 single cab. And it was $3,000. And I was like, okay, I can afford, like I have enough cash to buy that. And I get a hold of this guy has it, and he shows up, and it is a freaking high school kid. And the seat is torn to shit. You know, like you can see the springs in the seat. But I was like, there was nothing else really that worked. And I was like, I just need it. And it was like, dude, it was one of those moments where like, I think I was 29 or 30 and I'm buying a truck from a high school kid because that's all I could afford. And I had to get a pillow to sit it on the springs so I could drive that truck to work. But the thing that totally sucked is it got like 9 miles a gallon. So I was like, I just couldn't even afford to put fuel in the thing. Oh, that was an interesting moment. So, Kade, what are the things that have kept you going when things are really difficult?
I am not like, I don't give up.
Why?
Ever. I don't know, dude. I just don't give up. I'm a very optimistic person, and I always feel like there's a way to get through it.
Yeah.
To get to the other side. And then at the other side, you know, you got another chance. So I guess that's probably it. I know I can do it. It's just whether or not.
Whether or not what? You can feel free to talk.
What's that?
Just talk through my backswing, whatever. Just tell me.
No, I always have the confidence that I can do it. So if there's ever an issue or something or a hard spot, I can always see the future.
Yeah.
And I always feel really good about the future.
So you never find yourself in moments where you're like, train's coming off the track?
All the time. I feel like it's all the time.
Right. Well, so like, how do you get yourself out of that moment of like the train's coming off the track?
I just focus and I just work. I'm very optimistic. Like I know that if I get through this section or this hard patch,
You're like, this sumbitch is coming off the track.
This was
there's a track in front of me, and we're gonna land right on that thing. It's gonna be smooth.
It's coming off the track, but it's gonna land on another one.
It's landing on the next track. We're just shifting lanes.
I'm gonna put that question back your way too.
Okay.
What gets you through the tough stuff?
Go. Oh, that was bad.
Because it's pretty, like it can be pretty frequent. You'll go through spells where it's pretty easy. Then for sometimes, like when it rains, it pours. It kind of feels like that.
Yeah, I think for me, like I've learned a lot of really good lessons in life that go back to faith and my belief in God, and really being able to have belief that someone else has control and can help.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, for me, like one of the things that's always been difficult for me is I always feel like I have to have a team to get things done, right?
Yeah.
And so like the idea of totally relying on myself has always kind of been a little bit difficult, but being able to rely on God to like back me up,
yeah,
has been one of the things that's probably been the biggest game changer for me. I think that's kind of,
that's your. I think a lot of people think when there is an issue or something that goes on, I feel like they think it's the end of the world, and maybe it's because I've been through it so much that I always feel like there's a way. There's always a way. This is not the end of the world. Just look for the way and go for it, and just keep your head down. My old man always taught me that if you were having hard times or something's rough in life, whether you got a divorce or you got this or that, work. Keep working. Put your head down, work more.
Yeah.
Because the minute that you don't do that, and you're just going to start compounding all the issues, then if you stop working,
right,
the one thing that you can do and the one thing that is there is work. So put your head down, go put your time in it.
Well, and actually one of my favorite sayings is God loves effort, right? And that's that same principle of like, look, if you'll put your head down, if you'll go to work, to your point, something will open up, a way will appear. I can't tell you how many times like there's just been moments where like, you need money at a certain time and you have no idea how it's going to get it, but you go to work, you do it anyway, and then somehow it shows up.
Something pops up.
Something pops up.
Or an opportunity, a job starts, or something like that you're like.
And I think probably the other thing is just that, to your point, like it's happened so often that, it's almost expected that something will pop up. Right? You're just you're like, dude, I've been down this road so many times, like I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah. Give it a minute. Like it is not the end of the world. Something will, like we're continuing to work, we're continuing to do what we have to do. Something will start up. Something will happen.
Yeah.
I promise. And it does every time.
I think the other part of that aspect for me too is like, I feel like there are a lot of people who rely on what I'm providing. And so it's almost like that, that realization of like, if I do stop, what's the collateral damage? And so you just like, there's a part of you that's like, I absolutely can't allow that to happen.
So, what has been the biggest lesson that you've learned?
That it's all about people. And if you're chasing money, you'll never hold on to it. Like there's an interesting thing. It's like whatever you're really trying to chase, like if it's not meant to be chased after, it will never really work out. You know what I mean? Like I remember when I first started, like I wanted to be rich, right? I was like, that's all I wanted. I wanted to have money and be wealthy. And that's all I was concerned about was like, I wanted the money. And that was my total focus. But there's something that's interesting about money, right? Like money itself is not fulfilling. Money itself doesn't fix anything. Money itself is never like the solution for what you think it's the solution for. Money is fantastic and it's an amazing tool, right? And that's one thing that I've learned is like money is only a tool, and it's a fantastic tool, and you need to have it in order to bless and benefit and help others and to create things, right? But if your aim is to get money for money, you're never going to be satiated. If your aim is to get money to develop and build and help, and it becomes about the people, then the money's always there. The money's always there. It's like tides in the ocean. You know what I mean? Like it's constantly coming in. It comes in, it goes out. It comes in, it goes out. It comes in, it goes out. But when it comes in, you're able to use it to bless and benefit and help grow. And that's that idea of the money going out, right? If you try to hoard it, it's like if you're trying to grab, water out of the ocean, like you're not going to hold on to it. It disappears.
I was thinking about when you were saying chasing it. The more you, and a lot of people do say that, the more you chase it, the more it'll run from you.
Yes.
Or the more you chase something, it will run from you.
Yes.
But I think that if you chase relationships and opportunities,
well, that's why I said if it's something
then
that's
you
not
have
meant to be chased.
then you have something fulfilling.
Yeah.
That is worth, if you just sit and chase money your whole life, you're going to be a sad person.
Right.
With no friends.
Right.
If you chase relationships and opportunity, then everything else will fall in place.
So I'll tell you how I learned that story. It was really interesting. So my emotions actually used to be pretty driven on how much money was in my bank account. If I had a lot of money in my bank account, I was happy. I was fun to be around. But as that balance lowered and lowered and lowered, I would become more aggravated and ornery. And it was funny because actually it was one of my employees that pointed it out to me. And he was like, dude, like, you're a lot of fun when you have money in the bank, but like when you don't, like you're not a nice person, And I realized my emotions were kind of based off of that. And that was actually before I lost everything. Like I was doing really well. We were building a lot of homes. There was plenty of money, plenty of trips, plenty of fun and playing, right? And thinking that was solving my problem. And then I through 2008 came and we were owed $1.6 million and I collected like $153,000 and lost everything. It was a total reset. Fast forward a couple years, I started Alco Construction, right? Like it took me 5.5 years to crawl out of that. I started my new construction company, and there was one day, it was a Friday, and driving home from work, I get into my driveway, throw my truck in park, grab my checkbook because there's a couple bills I need to finish paying, right? And I'm writing these checks, paying these bills, and my balance is dropping boom, 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 boom. And it was low. Like I think I had like $150 left, or it wasn't much at all. But I was so happy that I had met all of my commitments for that week. And my emotion was no longer ruled by it. And then I had this realization, like it clicked. It was like, oh my gosh, money is just a tool. That's all it is. It doesn't, it can't fix me. It can't bring me what I think it's supposed to. It's only here as a tool to help me on my journey. And from that moment on, my relationship with money completely changed. I've always had enough money for my needs, and to be honest, most of my wants. Like it's always been there. And that went from a time when payroll was, like $3,000, every couple of weeks to, $90,000. Like it just keeps growing, and I've always had enough for everything that I've needed. And I think it was because my relationship with money switched and I no longer gave a shit about money. I was like, what can I use this tool to build, and who can it help?
Oh yeah. Keep progressing.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about that with the money and everything, if even at the end of the year or something, if it looks tight or whatever, you can look back at what you have built, where you're at, and how much further you've progressed.
Yeah, absolutely. 129. All right, Kade. Want to talk about golf for a minute?
Let's do it.
What's your favorite golf course you've ever played?
Top Golf, Las Vegas.
Is that listed in the top 100?
That's yeah. No, I would have to say, like, as far as going to golf courses, you've kind of brought me back to excited to play golf.
Sit. Beauty, look at
shot.
that.
Yeah, you've brought me back to being excited to play golf again.
Really?
And go after courses and stuff. So I would have to say.
So would you consider me your drug dealer technically?
Yes.
Like I was the guy who was like, hey, I'll give you a taste?
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
Spending all my money.
Spending all your money.
But yeah, so I would probably say, when did we go to Stream Song?
When was that? That was right. Was it before the
Whenever that
first of the
hurricane
wasn't
was.
it? Yeah, whenever the hurricane was. I don't like.
Was it November?
That sounds about right. Let's say it's November.
So I have not played that like crazy of courses, like Wolf Creek or something.
Yeah.
Let's say I really liked Wekopaw.
Wekopaw was fun.
I really did like Wekopaw.
Is that kind of the first time you've traveled for golf?
Yes.
Oh, see, that's a whole nother level of addiction. That's a problem.
I
Yeah,
am
that's
itching.
an itch. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm itching. So like we talked about having like that golf map of like the top 100 courses or something in the world.
Yeah. Be good. Be good.
I think it's short, man. All of them have been.
No, it's rolling on.
Oh, we're on.
That's good. That's a par right there, man. That's maybe even a birdie. Let's see what it does.
Twos.
Par on par. Way to go.
Yeah, what's your favorite course? Because you've been to some courses.
Okay, so a lot of people would just be like, what in the world? The old course in Scotland is amazing, and it's really cool, and there's like, I shit you not, like it's a spiritual experience. Coming up 17 and 18 at the old course in Scotland is just amazing. But there's a course over there, King's Barnes, that is lights out. So much fun to play. So much fun to play. And that's one of my favorites. Another one that's just epic is Whistling Straits. Fantastic course, and it's difficult. Like when I played that, we played 36 holes back to back, and it's a walking course only. So I remember like the second round, by the 14th hole, I was like, I am so done. I'm just done. But I couldn't quit. Like there's a part of me that's like, you have to finish playing. I wanted to quit by the 14th hole. Yeah.
That's what, TPC? We played Champions in Stadium?
Yeah. And I love Stadium. I thought Stadium was fantastic. But I mean, there's so many amazing courses. There's one in Georgia called Sage Valley that is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it's like, you know, people will say that Bandon Dunes is like Disneyland for dads.
Yeah.
It's because they haven't been to Sage Valley. Like seriously. Here's the thing with Bandon Dunes. Bandon Dunes is fantastic. You go up there, you're kind of in your own place. The courses are great. But you still feel like you're in the world, right? You go to Sage Valley, you pull off this road. It's right by Augusta in Georgia. There's a little road you pull off of, and there's a gate, right? Like way far back on the property. There's a gate right there, and you can't get in unless you're going to play. They let you in. You go on property, and you never leave again. The houses are on property. There's a par 3 that's lit up at night that's on property. The restaurants are on property. Like everything happens there, which is why, dude, like that is Disneyland. And you get there and it's like the grounds are so pristine, amazing, beautiful. These red brick walls that line pathways, and the grass is perfect. And the clubhouse every morning at 8 a.m. You hear the bagpipes playing, right? 8 a.m. in the morning, 5 p.m. at night. They're playing 2 times a day. The staff is amazing. You walk in, right? Country club, you walk in, sir, you need to remove your hat. Oh, shoot, right? It's one of those things like it is tradition steeped. Take your hat off. You go and like in the men's locker room, there's a little place where you can eat in the men's locker room too. Like it is very old school, traditional. This is the way we do it, old boys club. And it's something else. It really is something else.
So you got me all excited wanting to go.
Dude, it's fantastic. I'm actually going there again in like 6 weeks. It's fantastic track. It's so much fun to play.
Who'd you go there with the first time?
Rich Day. He's a member there. All right, so talking about chasing things that are important, right? I have a son that's 15 years old, and he's always been a pretty reserved kid. He actually has a kind of a difficult time making friends, but he's like the sweetest, greatest kid that's out there, right?
It's pretty cold to like when you first meet him, but once he warms up to you and kind of knows who you are, then he's like a...
Well, he's not cold. He's just...
I say cold in the fact that like he doesn't engage. Like
yeah, he's not an extrovert. He's absolutely an introvert.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, so like he has a hard time putting himself out there. And like I said, like he's the sweetest kid. And so, you know, at that age, like that 13, 14, 15-year-old age, there's an interesting dynamic that happens with young men, and they start to like tease each other. It's kind of this, you know what I'm talking about? It's this weird dynamic that you go through at that age where you razz each other.
Yep.
oh my gosh, he would bully me.
Yeah. But like my son doesn't understand it.
Yeah. The back and forth razz or...
Yeah, like he's like the nicest kid. So like he would come home and it'd be like, you know, like I don't know why like they tease people. Not even teasing him, like tease people, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's just kind of, you know, what teenage boys do. So anyway, like it's kind of one of those things, like as a father, I'm really concerned about him. Because of course I want him to have friends. I want him to enjoy his experience in junior high. I want him to learn how to develop relationships with people the same age and learn those qualities, right? And it wasn't happening for him. And I had this thought of like, how do I chase this? How do I fix this? How do I help here, right? How do I add value? Because as a father, sometimes, especially around that age, it's really difficult for a father and a son to have those conversations. You know what I mean? Like I remember being really guarded and not wanting to talk about it, especially with my dad, because it's just a weird age. So I was like, man, what do I do here? And I just, you know, I remember my wife coming to me and she was like, hey, like, you got to figure out a way to like build that relationship. And I was like, I know, I get it. Like I felt it for a minute. And so I invited him to start coming to the gym with me in the morning. So I go to CrossFit. I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, go to CrossFit at 5:30. And like, think about this, like a 14-year-old boy, like, hey, dude, you want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym? What's every kid going to say? No way. But he was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. Let's try, right? So he starts coming to the gym with me, and it was amazing to see him get these little wins and the immediate confidence that came in him. Immediately, and all of the sudden, now it's not me saying, hey, we going to the gym tomorrow? Now it's him saying, Dad, we going to the gym tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, we're going to the gym tomorrow. It's him that's waking up before I am, and it's like, Dad, we got to go. Like, you know, class is starting, right? And it's him that's like, hey, did you see my PR? Like all of a sudden, he's hitting these milestones, and he's changing, and he's becoming self-confident. And I was like, okay, that was a small thing for me, but because I was willing to chase it, it's changed our relationship completely. And not only that, but it's changed who he is. Like fundamentally, you know what I mean? Now he sees the strength that he has. I don't think he's as self-conscious anymore. I think he has more of that, you know, that confidence of like knowing who he is and what he's able to do. And even if he doesn't have a lot of friends and doesn't still has a difficult time there, it doesn't bother him at all. And that's all I want.
That's
I just want
cool.
him to be happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you going out and actually, I guess, giving him the opportunity to see what he can do definitely changed.
Yeah,
That's
something.
what it sounds like. It's giving him the opportunity.
That's all it was.
Changed a lot.
Well, it wasn't giving him the opportunity. It was inviting him to be with me on a journey.
Because there's no way you know what you're doing
Because
at the
like,
moment. It's just like, come hang out with me. Let's go.
well, and here's the thing. Like, if I think about, and the reason you said giving him an opportunity, if I think about that, like for me, that sounds like, hey, I'm going to take you to a gym and drop you off, right? I'm going to give you this opportunity. I'm just going to leave you there and see how you. No, it's different that we're there together, that we're working out side by side, that he hears me cheer him on when he does something big. And not only that, but when he sees me like lift a lot of weight and do something that's outside of my comfort zone, like he's like, I want to do that. He sees me on the same journey as him. And he's like, that I want to be like that. It motivates him, that pushes him, right? So it wasn't that I gave him an opportunity, I invited him along the journey with me.
And the byproduct of it that you did not know would happen
Had no idea.
is absolutely rad.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. So I think, and maybe that's the key is like, when you're trying to chase a relationship, I think too many times we think about it as like a one direction deal instead of inviting someone on a journey with you.
When you say one direction, it's like
I'm pursuing you.
Like the same thing with
this is your
business.
son, and it's like I want to like quote fix this. Like
Yeah.
I want this from because you love me, of course.
Yes.
But it's more of like I just lost my train of thought. Where I was going with this.
It's like the same thing in business. You know what I mean? If you're going into it, go into it wanting to help the other person, like work together and not just a one-sided deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a we situation.
It's a we.
It's a we situation.
It's big. It's big.
And I feel like you and I have, like, that's been our relationship.
Yeah.
Like we've had to have some difficult conversations about projects, but we've also committed that, like, dude, like we'll figure this out together.
Yep.
It's a journey together. And the reality is, I want your company to succeed. I want to see you grow, and I get excited when I see you grow, and I feel the exact same from you. So it's that same thing of like seeing you stretch outside your comfort zone makes me want to do the same thing. And hopefully me stretching outside of my comfort zone makes you want to do the same thing. And me grabbing you and saying, hey, I've been inspired to go travel for golf because the courses that we see in other places are outside anything we've ever seen in Utah, right?
Yeah.
And I share that journey with you. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, this is it. You become addicted and inspired and you want to do it and I want to do it. And then you bring someone else in that mix who wants to do it. And it's just this forward mobility of being on a journey together, right? And I think that's where real relationships come, of like, let's do this together and rally each other on.